All right, fantastic. All right, gang, welcome so much. Thank you for being here. What a stinking week, right? Holy moly. Like there's never been we're in uncharted territory. And the interesting thing about uncharted territory is that it's kind of like another time, only this time is totally different. So there's two things I want you to think of today. Today is going to be specifically about cutting expenses, cutting cost, while the goal would be to cut expense without cutting service to your clients. So how can we cut expense, cut costs that we have? Gary Keller would say a dollar saved is a dollar earned, and the first dollar you earn is the first dollar you save. How do we cut with service? Knowing that you might have to come back later and you may have to cut service too. The first swipe through, the first pass is not cutting people, not cutting services. The second pass might be another conversation. So to tee up the conversation a little bit today before I bring on our two special guests, the way this looks, I'm going to talk for a few minutes and kind of lay some ideas. Then I'm going to have Kristan Cole and Haro from the East Coast, who are amazing at this. They're awesome with this. They're going to give some of their direct advice of what they're doing right now. Sorry about that. They're going to give some direct advice about what they're doing right now. And then I'm going to kind of go the next 20 minutes. And so the whole webinar is going to last about 45 or 50 minutes total. My goal is that you hear a few things that you love. My goal also is that you hear a few things and you go, I'm not so sure about that. I don't think I'm going to do that. I don't think that's too far. That's over the edge. That's too much. That's totally cool. Our goal, though, is to have you prepared for the very, very worst, hoping for the very, very best. Nobody has a crystal ball right now. So the biggest thing I want you to think of right now, and I'd have you to write this down, your job today, your business today, whether you're a solopreneur, a solo agent, or you're a team, or you're an expansion, or somewhere in between, a brokerage owner, if it's real estate related, that's who I'm talking to. You've got one job, and that job is for the business to survive. That's it. The job is survival. If you know me, you know how freaking hard it is for me to make that comment. It goes against the grain for everything I think. It goes against the grain for everything I believe. When someone says survive, I go thrive. Like that's who I am. That's how I look at the world. This isn't the time to be the motivational speaker. This isn't the time to say everything's great, it's going to be fine. We don't know what it looks like. I'm not talking about the world. I'm not talking about humankind. I'm not talking about human beings. I'm not talking about your families right now. This is only about your business. Like there's all kinds of cool things floating around the internet. Like, hey, with all the social distancing, this is improved, this is improved, this is improved. I love all of that. The challenge is I've got a business to run and you've got a business to run. So this is about survival. So Gary Keller would say, this is where you survive so that another day you can thrive. This is when you survive so you can fight and win and make money another day. We're going to ask you in this webinar to cut your expenses to the bone. We're going to ask you in this webinar, if it's not nailed down, if it's not mandatory, you get rid of it. By the way, the stuff that's nailed down, you go back and renegotiate it. The stuff that's nailed down, you go back and everything is under a microscope. One of the things I'm going to ask you to do, by the way, shout out to the entire Kristan Cole network. You guys are all on this webinar. Thank you so much for leading the way with us. And thanks for loaning Kristan to us to help today. I know she would have been on a call with you, so thank you. One of the things I'd push you to do right now, if you're in a relationship, you have a spouse, you have a partner, a life partner, husband, wife, whatever this looks like, if you've got kids at home, get everybody together. Now's the time that you hit time out and you say, we got to talk money. Now's the time that you hit time out and you go, what can we cut to the bone? Even if that means the grocery bill goes to peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Like, that's what I'm talking about right now. Now, as a leader, I've got these two choices. As a leader, I can be like, all right, are we going to get on here and talk about doom and gloom and it could be terrible? Or am I going to say everything's fine, you're good? Remember, I preface it this way. We're going to prepare for the worst. We're going to hope for the best. We're going to hope we land somewhere in between. Though you have a responsibility to your business and you have a responsibility to your clients and your customers that you weather the storm. No one knows what this looks like. Is it 2 weeks? Is it 8 weeks? Is it 12 weeks? I don't know, and neither do you. And any speculation on our part is just being naive. We don't know. We're going to prepare for the worst. If it's not nailed down, you cut it. If it is nailed down, you go back and you try to renegotiate it. You try to go back and say, can we move it to the end? I mean, I'm talking about going to your mortgage lender. I'm talking about going to whoever it is that you have your mortgage with, not your business. I mean, you, like the home that you live in. I want you to go to your bank and say, can you defer 3 months worth of payments? I told somebody this advice yesterday and they go, Cody, I've got the money to make my payment. And I said, that's not the point that I'm making. You keep that money, you put it in a bag and you shove it under the mattress. That's what you do with the money right now. And you go and you see if the lender will say, listen, can we defer it 3 months? Last night on the news, it was, I think it was Bank of America that came out that said, if you've been affected by COVID in any way, we'll stall out mortgage payments. I think it was 2 months or 3 months, I forget which. But when B of A does that, every other major institution, they almost have to follow suit. But you only have a finite window at this. These lenders, the banks, the companies, I mean, think about all these businesses right now that are handing refunds back, saying, no problem, if you're affected by this, here's your money back. Hey, I had this great big event, here's your ticket price back. Well, there's still a cost to that. These businesses are still spending money to give money back, and right now, everyone's doing it. But I think you have a short window of that time frame. So if you have that available, get it done right now. I don't know that you can go to your lender in 45 or 60 days and defer payments. I know you can do it right now. And I know that now would be the time. So Gary would say that you pivot, but you don't pivot tomorrow. You don't pivot next week. You pivot right this second. Like you have zero time. My goal today is that you end the webinar and you go, man, that Cody, that Kristan, that Haro, those guys are kind of like Chicken Little right now. That's our goal. Our goal is to say, when it comes to economics for your business, the sky might be falling. If it doesn't or only falls halfway, great, that's awesome. But your job is to keep the business open. Your job is to be able to fight another day. Now, here's another issue. I'm going to go right to our two guests in just a minute. I want to say it like this. You don't need a long-term solution for a short-term problem. This is a short-term problem. We don't know the ramifications long-term, but it's a short-term problem. We're talking the next 30 days. We're talking the next 60 days. We're talking the next 100 days. By the way, I'm doing another webinar on Wednesday the 25th. This one will be noon Pacific time, and that one's sponsored by Land Voice. Wednesday the 25th, noon Pacific time, and that one, for anybody listening, you'll see sign up registration links go out. That one is just for teams. So I mean, the agent who runs a team has a different economic challenge than the agent running an expansion business, than the agent who's a solopreneur or a solo agent. We have different economic challenges. So the one Wednesday, the 25th at noon, we'll have a few more guests there too. But all right, so let's do this. It's 1:09, it's 10 minutes after. So I'd like to introduce you to two of my incredible friends, Kristan Cole of the Kristan Cole Network and Haro. Can you guys both hear us?
I can hear you great, man.
All right, so let's unmute Kristan from our side because I can hear Haro and I can see him. Kristan, can you say something again?
I can totally see you. I can hear you. Awesome.
You guys are awesome. Now, everybody, I asked Kristan and Haro to do this like 2 days ago. They both said, absolutely yes, I'm absolutely in. So, man, my hat's off to both of you. Now, when the webinar's over, if you guys want to reach out to either one of them, I mean, everyone's busy, but these are two people that just give and give and give, and I love them for it. So I respect them both. I invited them both because I know they're good with money and I know they're taking swift action. So, Kristan, we're going to go to you first. What are some things that we should be doing right now? You've been, I mean, let's be clear. You look 25, but you've been selling real estate since like the earth was created. So you have all the experience in the world at this. You've been up and down this flagpole multiple times. What do we do?
She taught Gary Keller.
Yes, I heard that. In fact, I heard that. Yes.
So here's the thing, Cody, you're exactly right. The thing that I've noticed, you know, I've been through so many downturns. She just had a different name. Today, her name is Corona. Tomorrow, her name might be something else. But what I've learned is this: people wait way too long to take action. They need to take it now. They're gonna go to the sidelines and they're gonna hope it's gonna get better, and it will get better in time. But right now, they need to take action. They need to cut things. I can just tell you. Right now, I said this morning to someone, and I thought they were going to have a heart attack, but I said, you need to cancel all your credit cards right now. And there was a big gasp. And I said, cancel them. And she said, well, what do you mean? I said, you need to cancel your credit cards because then everyone has to call you to get the new number. And by them calling you, you get to make the decision. Do I want that expense again? So I just can tell you, I cut the last time I went through a major downturn, I cut $173,000 out of my annual budget in like a weekend. And it wasn't fun, but it's like, you're right. The business has to survive, and the thrival can come later. But right now it's about survival, and you've got to get through this. And so the most important thing you can do is cut expenses. Right now we're in, here we are, you know, right into the throes of it. And we've already talked to our landlord about cutting our rent or abating it till the end. And most people think, but you have money. Yes, but we don't know how long our money has to last.
And you don't know where you're going to have to use it. Like, you don't know what need shows up in two. Like, you're, out of anybody I know, you're the first one to say, I've got a shirt on my back. Do you need it right now?
Oh,
I've got a sandwich. Do you need half of it? Like, out of anybody I know, you're the first person to do it. And so, like, for you, it's like, I've got cash, but I don't know where it needs to go in 3 weeks or 4 weeks. I need to hold it.
That's right. So, you know, the most important thing we can do is cut expenses that are not necessary, or even if you think they are necessary, cut them and cut them again. So do one round and then like wait 2 or 3 days, do another round, is because, and don't just take things for face value. Like you might say, oh, well, that's insurance. We have to have insurance. Hey, you know what? Rebid that insurance. We just rebid our insurance last week and saved $2,000. And we rebid it a year ago and saved a bunch of money. So don't think, well, I just did it a year ago. Rebid it. You guys, I cannot tell you how important it is to not look at something like your cell phone bill and go, well, that's the cell phone bill. No, it's not. Call them. Is there a better package? Can you condense? You guys have to think that this is the most, you can't cut your way to profitability, but you can cut your way to surviving. And that's what we have to think about right now over the next, we don't know how long.
That's an interesting thought, because I just read yesterday, I hadn't even thought about that till you mentioned it. I read how both AT&T and Verizon had removed limits on data. And as you're saying that, I'm going, well, hang on, I pay for an unlimited data service, which is twice what that is. I wonder if I could call and say, hey, take me from 160 a month to 75 a month. If there's going to be unlimited data anyway, then maybe for 3 months, that's a few $100s.
Exactly. And people can't discount a few $100s, because there's things like, you know, there are so many things that have a membership to that cost like $59 a month or $29 a month or $79 a month. Don't just go, well, that's okay. No, it's not okay. Those things add up. And right now we have no idea how deep and how wide this will go. And after 35 years in the business and going through, you know, Corona this and Corona that, they just had different names, Cody. 9/11, the financial meltdown. How about when oil went from $100 a barrel to less than 10? I mean,
nothing.
That's reality. And so we absolutely have to just get our expenses in line in a big, big way. And there's no way to do that other than just to cut, wait a few days, cut some more, wait a few days, cut some more. That's just reality that we're dealing with. Don't feel bad about it.
Kristan, is there anyone, by the way, Lacey, Adrian, can you grab some of the questions that some of the viewers are holding? Because I know that Kristen's got to go in a few minutes, but we can ask 1 or 2 of the questions before she has to leave. Kristan, is there anything that's sacred? Like, is there, as an agent, is there anything that you say, hang on a second, this one has a bubble over it and it's sacred? Is there anything sacred?
There's nothing sacred, but I will say this. I will cut everything under the sun before I cut a person.
Okay.
I hope you heard that, because I do think that people, you know, we're in the people business. And so I will cut and cut and cut. I have been through several challenging markets, whether it was something that acted on us or something that, you know, whether it was a 9/11 or whether it was a financial meltdown. And what I can tell you is that I've never had to lay anyone off, and I don't want to. But the most important thing is, in order to keep from doing that, is you've got to cut expenses that you think you need. You need people. You don't need a bunch of expenses. So I just encourage you, you know, we honestly, Cody, I'm just going to be frank. We hide behind complexity. We spend money in order to avoid doing the very thing that we need to do, which is picking up the phone. Right now, you can win. You can totally win. See, this isn't about buyers and sellers right now. What this is about is, can you pick up the phone and communicate with your people and care about them, so that when we get through this, then you can thrive. It's just about surviving till you can thrive. So we've got to cut expenses, because we don't know what it looks like and we don't know how long, but we do know this.
Go ahead.
We do know this. If we can constantly keep in contact with our people and we let them know how much we care. And we're not talking about real estate. We're just asking them, is your family okay? Do you need anything? What can I do to help you? If we just do those things, the people that aren't going to win are the people that sit back and say, I'm going to wait. I'm going to see what happens. Don't wait. Don't wait. Cut now. Keep your people as much as humanly possible, and do the one thing that we need to do that we spend money trying not to do, which is calling our people.
Which costs literally nothing. Like there's no hard cost. There's no hard cost to lead generating with a heart. If you're looking for your one-liner, like that's your one-liner. Kristan, is there I've got two questions I'm going to ask you in a second, but before that, is there a percentage, and Haro, I'm going to ask you some of the same, so you'd be thinking too, is there a percentage that you look for? Like as an agent, do you go, all right, my goal is 10%, 22%? Like, is there a percentage that you're after? Is there something to go towards?
Cody, when oil went from $100 a barrel to less than 10, we had no idea that a $250,000 house was going to go to 25,000. So that's how deep it can go. And so just cut and cut and cut. Just do everything humanly possible to cut things that you don't need so that you can keep your people. That's the most important thing, is keeping your people. And because they've been loyal to you, be loyal to them.
Do you cut, here's a couple of questions, and I know you've got a hard stop in like 2 minutes, and I'm going to be respectful of that. Do you cut web pages right now, or internet services, or I'm assuming by web pages, they mean like internet lead generation style ideas?
I think you cut everything that anything for lead generation other than picking up the phone, which costs no money. Cut it all. Cut Zillow, cut internet, cut it all. Because you can become relevant by just talking to people, which is what we need to do, and we have avoided by spending money to create leads so that we don't have to do that. So I would say cut it.
Would you, I know that you have virtual assistants, and you were one of the first people to figure out as a real estate agent, like how to accurately and well use VAs. Somebody asked, do you cut VAs right now if you have office admin in the office? Do you look at that any different, or are they the same? What's your outlook there?
They are our team members, Cody.
Yep.
You can call them VAs. They're still our team members. I love them. And the one thing that I was on a call with them this week, and I said, you know what, you guys, I've been through this before. You can count on me. Do not worry. Do not worry. Just take care of your family. Next, take care of our business. I want you guys looking at our business the same way. Do everything humanly possible to help us succeed, and we're going to have your back.
I love that. All right, two last ones, and I know you have a minute left, and that's it. Somebody said, what about office dues or space?
Oh yeah, we already have. Yesterday we had a.
Now you happen to own real estate companies, so you have market centers. You have multiple market centers,
yes.
And you're an agent in multiple market centers. So this is an interesting question for you. So give us your answer there.
Yes, so we are already going to our landlords right now. And even though we have the money to pay the rent, we're asking them to abate it so that we can stockpile cash to do what we need to do to get through this. We can always catch up later. But right now, don't be afraid to ask for them to abate the rent now. That's exactly what we're doing. And so nothing is sacred, Cody. Nothing sacred. What is sacred is getting you and your family and your team through this. That's number one.
Any input, very last one, and I know I said that already. Are you okay for 60 more seconds?
60 seconds.
Okay. Advice, forget the business side for a minute. You're the first person to be a human being. You're the first person that when your son was in an accident, you said, everything stops. I'm not leaving the side of the hospital bed. Talk to us as a family. What does a mom or a dad or a wife or a husband or like, what does a family do right now around money?
First of all, you take care of your family, Cody, number one. It has to be number one, and nothing else matters. You've got to take care of your family first. And so, and getting them settled. And you and I have had conversations, you know, that I got my mom settled in Payson. I'm taking care of my father. I'm getting my, because nothing else matters. As soon as you get that done quickly, then get on to protecting your business. So family matters, number one. You only get one of them. And number two, then get on to protecting your business. So as you know, I'm doing a lot of things right now. I've got a lot of balls in there to make sure that my family's protected, because nothing's more important to me than that. And you know that. You've seen me. Super important to me. But also the people that work with me every day, that count on me, that believe in me, that believe in our vision, they are just as important to me. So that's where we are now. Now it's about How do we cut expenses to make sure that we protect our business and protect the team that believes in our vision?
Oh, awesome. Kristan, is there anywhere, where could people ask questions or communicate? Where's the best place for them to go if they had more questions or they wanted just to show gratitude?
Sure. Just Kristan at KristanCole.com. Just Kristan with an A.
All right. Thanks, Kristan. Good luck.
Thanks,
I love
Cody.
you very, very much. Thank you.
Love you too.
Thank you, Kristan.
Bye, Haro.
Haro, my man, how are you?
I'm great, man. How are you?
Good. For anybody who doesn't know Haro, number one, you must live under a rock or in a cave. Though, just in case you don't know Haro, Haro, tell us who you are, where you're from, and how long you've been around this business.
Yeah, I've been in real estate since May of 2009. It was a phenomenal time to get in.
Right.
And I live in Greenville, South Carolina. I have a team of about 15 people. We average about 300 homes a year for the last 5 years. And have interest in a couple of real estate brokerages as well, and lots of investment properties, and everything's a question mark right now.
Everything is right now. The reason I came to you on this was it was maybe like 4 months ago that you now you're part of Gary's private mastermind with me and Kristan, and you jumped in there and you started talking about budgets and started talking about money and cuts and sharpening the pencil, like remargining the business long before this Corona thing even showed up. So walk us through what goes through your mind right there.
Praise God. I had grown our business, or we had grown our business to about 500 sales in 2017, and really got my eye. I was launching another business. I was launching a Keller Williams Market Center, and really got my eye off of efficiencies and profitability and effectiveness of the business. And when I stepped back in after about a year and a half of working on that launch, stepped back in and found that our company was just adrift, and we had lost sight of a number of things. And so I went into this cleanup project. And of course, this was my first cleanup project of a business. So I learned a lot of things along the way, and I did some things that were effective, and we did some things that were ineffective. One of the things I did is I didn't want to cut staff. So in 2018, we didn't cut staff, although we got out of business with a bunch of salespeople we didn't need to be in business with. And that sent us into actually negative profit. So we lost money in 2018. And then in 2019, we turned that. We actually grew our profits 200%, but it was still too small a number, and I was still very uncomfortable. We had several months in 2019 where we lost money in those months, even though on balance the whole year was profitable. And I just had I hired a new coach and had a real frank conversation. I'd read the book Profit First and just made some really hard decisions. We laid off 4 people. We took the axe to our budget like crazy all last year. And actually, I just got February's numbers back. We made 67% of last year's profits in just the month of February.
Incredible.
This month, we still have 24 closings to go this month. If they all close,
right,
we will have tripled our profits from last year this quarter.
Dude, that's gonna play well in your favor if what we think happens actually happens, right? Like if the next 3 or 4 months is pretty bleak. So I'm an agent. I'm selling homes. I'm running a real estate sales business, solopreneur probably. What are the handful of things first that I go and cut? Where do I go look first? Like if you cut your budget that much last year, like you must have some specific, go cut this, cut this, cut this. What are this?
Yeah, I mean, we had so much fluff. I mean, honestly, your biggest costs in any of this is rent and people. And if you are running a model, and what Kristan said is so true. I want to cut everything else before I cut people, but sometimes you do have ineffective people, Can
we time out for a second? I would push you, if you're listening to Haro right now, I would push you. I want you to think jobs or roles less than people. You're not cutting a human being. I mean, a human being's on the other end of it, though. If you're a business and you have to cut a job, I mean, forget us for a second. If you're running a restaurant and you go, all right, we have to stay open. Like we have to cut this one dishwasher, or we have to cut this one busser, or this one hostess. Maybe this person could do both jobs for 3 months. If the business can't stay open, then nobody has a job. And so the second that you say people, it's really hard not to think with a heart. And like Kristan said, you have to. At the same time, she also said first. If the very worst thing happens, the worst thing happens. So just remember, people have hearts, businesses don't. Businesses have P&Ls and budgets and spreadsheets and goals and models. And some of you will agree or disagree there. I'm okay with that. Though just think job titles. You might find that you've got two people doing the job of one person. And you might look down and go, I could have one person do the job of two, and I could overpay the one, and they could do the job of two, and I'm still better off, and so's the company.
Yeah, you could give that person 1.5 times pay, cut the second person, and now instead of having 2x, you have 1.5x.
Yes.
I had to do some soul searching on this because this is an important topic to me and people's livelihoods and all that kind of stuff.
You love people, Haro. I know that.
I do, and the soul searching on this, really what it came down to is, I really had to go fundamentally all the way back to what's the purpose of business. And a lot of people would say the purpose of business is to a profit or to fund a perfect life. I'm going to take issue with both of those. The way I see the purpose of business is to create goods and services that serve the people and do that at a high level, and then to create an atmosphere where people can work and develop their God-given gifts and talents. Both of those things, that is the purpose of business. However, profitability is the blood in the system that makes the business able to do those things. So I can't do either of those things unless there's profit in the system. And what I discovered last year about myself is when we're bouncing around the profit line, I'm stressed. And when I'm stressed, I'm not able to serve both of those constituencies well. So for me, the way I think about it is that human beings, no one wakes up every morning and says, you know what, I'm gonna make blood today and circulate blood today in my body. No one wakes up and says that. They say, I've got to take care of my wife. I got to take care of my kids. I got to take care of my business. But if blood isn't circulating and isn't healthy, none of that happens. So we have a stewardship responsibility to take care of the profitability of our companies so that we are able to serve our clients and serve our people. So that is kind of the philosophical place that I came to that allowed me to make those cuts in congruence with who I am.
So
in alignment with who I am.
Yep. So somebody asked this, so I'll repeat it. How do you renegotiate with a vendor? So as agents, we have all these vendors that we buy services or goods or products from. How do you renegotiate with that vendor?
This is the first time I've gone through a shift, so I'm just starting some of those conversations. I mean, we made some easy cuts that were just shutting things off, and now I'm going back and saying, okay, I just love that idea from Kristan about going back, or you said it, going back to my mortgage lenders. I just texted my EA while you were saying it, and saying, hey, can we abate this for 3 months? Can we just push this out for 3 months? Why not ask? How do you negotiate? I mean, I'm just going to have a conversation with them and frank. Also, I realize that a lot of them are small businesses, and I'm also in this place of what can I afford? Because they can't have everybody cut all this stuff. So what can we figure out a win-win? Because on the other side of this, we do still want to work together. So can I keep this person? Can I keep some blood flowing to this person so that they're able to keep alive in the future as well? So I'm thinking about that as well.
Would you go to a vendor and just say, hey, here's how much I can afford. Does this work for you?
Yep. I'm pretty close to that conversation with one of our vendors right now.
Yeah, no, I get it. And I get it. And I know which one, so I know we can't talk about it here, but you're basically going to say, listen, I love you and I'm paying this, but I can only pay this right now. Can you survive if I only pay this right now?
Right.
Or do I have to cut it?
Right.
Those are tough conversations, but don't be afraid to have them. And
when you have that conversation, I think be judicious about who you share that conversation with.
What do you mean?
Don't go post it on Facebook that you went to such and such company and you were able to get a 75% discount, because then you're hurting your relationship with them. I don't think that's the right way to do it either. So just be careful.
So one of the questions
understand we're all hurting. Everyone's hurting right now.
Yeah. So one of the questions that somebody posted, I know you've got a hard stop in about 1.5 minutes or 2 minutes as well. Do you think that we'll be in the foreclosure short sale market again? Now, get your crystal ball out, Haro. You must have one under that desk somewhere. Do you think we're going to go back to a foreclosure and short sale market?
I don't have a crystal ball, but I do have one of these. Does this count?
It's the same thing. Yeah. I mean, I run my business with a magic 8 ball, so we're probably in the same boat.
So here's the thing. I think there's 3 scenarios. There's the short and painful, Then there's like the mid-ground scenario that, like, if this is over in the next week, if we kind of get a handle on this thing in the next week, I think people will begin to be able to get their jobs back and be able to step back in. If we have prolonged, like kind of the second scenario two is this prolonged period of unemployment, I think you're going to see right now, the housing market fundamentals are still pretty strong. We do not have the crap we had back in 2007, 2008. To give you an example, I bought my first two houses without having a job, and I used my student loans to pay the down payment on my second house. I still own both of those properties. They're investment properties of mine. We're not doing that. Back then, there were people that had 7 loans on 7 properties, and they couldn't afford any of them. And so you had this massive rise up in value because people were just able to spend money. We're not having that right now. Mortgage credit availability is still very low compared to 2006, 2007, 2008. So underlying housing market fundamentals are not what they once were. This is not a recession being caused by a housing market collapse. 2008 was. This is a recession being caused by a pandemic. However,
right. One of the results could be a housing market crash. Like, we don't know. Yeah.
I don't know if it'll crash. I think it'll be a little bit slower. The unemployment is going to be the issue. That's going to be the thing to watch. Unemployment is going to be the issue. The other thing I'm concerned about, I'm thinking about, I haven't read too much about it yet, is if there are massive banking failures in Europe, that's going to be a huge issue as well. So,
right. So one of the questions I want to make sure
that's kind of like that's like scenario 3. If we go to that level, I mean, there are people saying like depression level issues.
Yes,
coming.
Could be. And let's all keep in mind, everybody listening for a second, more millionaires were made during the Depression era than any other time. In the last great big recession that we had that you and I would have lived through, more billionaires were made during that time. So as hard as things can be, there's opportunity. It cuts both ways. So one of the questions, Haro, and I know you got to go. Are you okay for one more minute?
I'm good, man.
Okay. So somebody asked, what about huge expenses? And they said like Brivity, Sync, Boomtown, internet lead gen providers. Like, I mean, we're looking at like, $500 a month, $1,000 a month, $2,000 a month, like those types of things. Pay-per-click advertising. You're running a real estate sales business. Haro, what the hell are you doing with those things?
We haven't cut Monday morning. Me and my leadership team sat down. We cut $55,000 in annualized expenses. Gone.
Like what were some of those? Do you have any specifics you can share?
A coaching contract. Not my coaching contract. I maintained that, but we had one coaching contract. We had one salaried person on our team that we were able to flip to straight commission. It was a salaried sales role. What else did we cut? We cut Vulcan 7. I'm trying to remember right now. A lot, marketing, mailers. We cut all mailers for now until further notice. So we're not going to be spending any money on that. I'm trying to remember what else it was. That was a good bit. Obviously, any kind of meals and entertainment budgets, any eating out, any of that kind of stuff, gone. Any like cash bonuses for bringing in listings, all that gone. So pretty much all that's gone. So then what we're going to do is we're going to sit down next week and kind of create a contingency plan. Okay, if our pending transactions get to this level, here's what's next. When they get to this level, here's what's next.
Smart. That's smart, like triggers. Like if this happens, if this, then that.
Yep, exactly. And here's the thing, like the building that we're in, we have a mega agent office. We have our own location outside of a market center. I'm the landlord, so I'm going to go back to the bank and say, hey, can I push out my mortgage payment for a few months, and then I'll just cut rent for my company entirely for 2 or 3 months if that's necessary.
The companies,
those other systems, lead generation, I don't. Right now, my lead gen mentality is I'm lead genning. When pressure is on is when relationships are best formed. Anytime whenever you have a tight relationship in your life, it's because you've gone through something together. And through that pressure-filled time is when the glue of the relationship formed. So my mindset is right now, the top of the funnel is weak. We are not seeing a lot of new leads saying, hey, I want to list my house right now. I want to buy right now.
Right.
They're not jumping into the top of the funnel like they were. Our closings are solid. We've written some good contracts this month, but we have not taken the number of agencies, buyer agencies.
You're talking like May, June business is like, I don't know right now.
Yeah, April's okay. May and June right now look bad, and based on the leading indicators, look really bad. So what I'm doing is like, all right, let's call through everybody. Let's just reestablish relationship, reconnect. Hey, do you need anything? Want to check on you? So that when this thing does abate, then we have this base, and we use this opportunity just to reconnect and love on people.
Yeah. All right, Haro. So in closing, I know you got a jet. In closing, is there any one-liner or one paragraph that you would leave everybody with? And then I'm going to go for about 15 or 18 minutes and answer some of these questions and then some of the things I wanted to say too. Anything you would leave us with, and thank you for your time. I know it's later where you live on the East, but anything you'd leave with us?
Yeah, it's 4:30. Here's the thing. I started in this business in 2009 when everything was at its absolute bottom. Last year in our MLS, there were 14,000 transactions, 28,000 sides. That year, there were 6,000 transactions, 12,000 sides. But listen to that. That was the worst recession in just about anybody that's alive's lifetime. And there were still 6,000 houses that sold in this MLS, 12,000 opportunities. I only need 294 of those for my team to thrive, not even survive. I only need 294. People are going to get out of the business. Okay. One thing I'm looking at is how can I adopt those people's databases? If people leave the business, can I call them and say, hey, can I work your database? Especially if I have a relationship with them.
Smart.
Bottom line, when I got in the business, my first 12 months, I sold 33 houses as a brand new agent in the business, as a buyer agent in 2009, 2010. And the way I did it is I followed a schedule. And that would be my thing that I would leave people with, like, stick to the schedule that works. Real estate is about a schedule. I came in the office every day at 8. I got on the phones. I worked till 6 or 7. I did it on Saturdays. We were a young family. I had zero net worth, probably negative. I had $50,000 in consumer debt. And I just went to work. I went to work every day. I had 2 little babies, and we did it. And here we are, 10 years later.
Man, thank you so much. If people wanted to reach out, is there somewhere that they could connect with you if they had questions or just wanted to show gratitude? Or
almost as easy as Kristan's. It's Haro at theharogroup.com, at theharogroup.com. Haro, so you can remember, it stands for Help a Realtor Out. So there you go.
That's so good, man. All right, Haro, thank you so much. So we're going to go ahead and disconnect. Haro, thanks for being on today.
Love you guys. Thank you, Cody.
Oh, you're my hero. Thank you so much. All right, so let's get to a couple of these. So somebody, I want to deal directly. Somebody asked directly expenses like Brivity, Sync, Boomtown, like the bigs, right? Like the ones that you might spend hundreds or even 1,000 or 2 on. Here's my advice to you. I know the owners of all those companies. I know the people who run them. I would go and have a conversation, just have a direct conversation. If it's Boomtown or if it's Sync, like I'm a massive Sync user. I've got 108 or 109 Sync platforms. If it's Brivity, my good friend Ben, I mean, you might go to those companies. Number one, they already know the conversations out there. So it's a matter of saying, listen, here's where I'm at. What are your thoughts? And I don't think it's wrong or right to say, here's where I'm at. Also, for Boomtown or Sync or Brivity or those others to say, I don't think it's wrong or right for them to say, well, shoot, I'm way over here. I do know this. I do know that all 3 of those companies are run by amazing people. I know that Sync's run by an amazing person, Alvaro. I know that Boomtown's run by an amazing person, Greer. I know that Brivity's run by an amazing human being and realtor, Ben. And so I think that all 3 of them would say, well, here's where we're at. And to borrow the term a win-win, I don't know what a win-win looks like. I do know that what's important is the conversation needs to be had. And it's kind of like, to borrow from, Susan Scott, who wrote Fierce Conversations. She said, not any one conversation will change the trajectory of a relationship, but any one conversation could. So I think it's a matter of opening the dialogue. I would tell you, as my friends watching the webinar, the first people to open the dialogue will probably do the best. So I'd have the dialogue now. I wouldn't have it in 2 months. I'd be having it right now. I'd say, hey, what are your thoughts? What are you doing? Is there anything I could do? Could I reduce my fee by 50% today? And could I pay 150% 8 months from now? And I know that sounds, because somebody else said, what about abating something? Won't it be harder to catch up later? There is a school of thought to that. It's kind of like, remember back when you were a renter or a mortgage holder, I've been in both shoes and been late. Like, you pay your mortgage late 3 weeks and you're like, yes, all right, I got it paid. And Nikes, it's due again in 1 week. What do I do? Or your tenant finally pays late and it's like, oh, well, it's due again. Sometimes you get in a hole you can't get out. In a general rule of thumb, I would tell you, be careful to create a hole, because you might not get out of it in 8 months or 10 months. I think that that's a long-term way to look at the world. And one of the things I said in the beginning of the webinar is, I don't think you need a long-term fix right now. You need a short-term fix. And so as much as I don't put off expenses because they come due. I mean, I'm the guy every single Friday who looks at every single credit card that I own, and I pay every one of them off on Friday. Like I can pay them all off on the end of the month and still, but you get my point. Like I want to know those expenses every single week. And so if you're not doing that, I would go to that. I would go to where it's every Friday or every Monday, whatever, and look at every single thing. And if you're out of whack somewhere, then you're going to know within a week. It's not going to be a month or 6 weeks. You're going to know within a week, and you're going to know when to tighten the belt. Everybody I know is going to tighten their belt right now. If you find in 2 months or 3 months that you're making more money than you anticipated, then great. You're going to be glad you tightened the belt. And what that spells is more profitability. Here's what I think you do. I think you go to all the vendors that you work with right now and you ask them, what are my options? What could we do? Could I pay a little less now and a little more later? And I also think that you have to be a human being. And I think that if you're doing better in 2 months, let's say you go to one of the bigs, like somebody mentioned, Boomtown Sink, Brevity, one of those, and you renegotiate something, or they have a bailout plan or a whatever, like whatever. I think if you're making money in 2 months, I think that it's on you as a human being to be honest and to go back to that company and say, hey, I know that I said 3 months, but I did really well this month. I can pay full price this month. If that's where you're at, I think that you have to do that. I think right now is when you make decisions with a heart and as a business, and you do them both. All right, so a couple things. Foreclosure and short sale, who knows? I think Haro answered that a little bit. Do you ever use the 1 to 10 scale to rank your people? The answer is yes. And I'll go into it deeper when I do the webinar on Teams next week on Wednesday the 25th. So I'll do that there. One of the things I wanted to give you as a giveaway though is this. A good friend of mine and someone who's coached me for years, Abe Shreve, has developed a very basic budget. Now he said, Cody, tell everybody this is a bare bones budget, but what he's learned by walking people through budgets is the more bare bones it is, the more basic it is, the more likely it is that you're actually gonna use it. So if you would like Abe Shreve, and he's consulted and coached some of the biggest real estate agents who have walked the planet, and today he coaches and works directly with Gary. If you want his budget, you can text the word budget to 33777. So you can just text budget 33777 and Abe will automatically send you his generic budget. What I would do is this. You got to look at every single expense. And I would start with the personal stuff. So I'd go cell phone. I'd go insurance, like Kristan mentioned. I'd go housing, like is it rent or is it a mortgage? I'd go everywhere. And if you could save $100 today or $1,000 today or $4,000, if you don't need it in 2 months, then great, fantastic. But right now is where you cut everything to the bone. Right now is where you get ridiculous, even if it means, I mean, this is a silly example, but I have this coffee machine that I love, right? Like it's one of those Nespresso machines, and I love the coffee it makes. It's all creamy and it's delicious. And the pod that it takes is like $1.75. And on any given day, I'll make 4 or 5 of those. And I'm like, it's $10 worth of coffee. If I went to Starbucks twice, that would be $10 too. Like that's how I reason it to myself. And this week I found myself making 1 in the morning and then going to drip coffee the rest of the day. And I know that's a ridiculous statement. I know that. But you look at it and you go, well, that's $10 in coffee or $1.75 and then drip coffee, which is like 50 cents or $1. And you're like, all right, so that's what I got to do. And you just, and you realize in that moment, like I remember my thought in that moment was, oh my gosh, this is how our parents' during the Great Depression ended up with that ball of rubber bands. Like everybody who's 80 has a ball of rubber bands like in their pantry, because they grew up in a depression where you kept everything. Like they have a bag of bread ties and those little twisty ties because you kept and reused everything. And so I want you to think like that's the time that you're in right now. And again, I'm going to be doom and gloom a little bit on the finances and the economics. And if it's better than that, then hooray, good, that's awesome. But you have to get ahead of it. This is where nothing is sacred. You get with your spouse, you get with your partner, you get with your family. And Abe's advice was, and he did it with his, I'll share one of his, and I don't know. Hope Abe doesn't get upset that I shared it. They cut Easter. Like they had set aside $200, like they were a budgeting family. And so Abe and his family had set aside $200 for Easter. and they have a 7-year-old little girl at home. So you could imagine Easter's a big deal, right? Like it's a big deal. And they went to the family and they said, listen, this year we cut the $200 budget for Easter that we had set, and we're not going to do like the typical Easter stuff that we would do. My guess is they'll get creative and do something interesting. And he said, listen, guys, right now we're not going to do that. He took his own income and cut it by 64 or 66%. You're going to have to get creative. And I want you to think for a moment. I mean, I've got 3 kids. Gavin's 18, and then my girls are 8 and 10. I wonder, like, because I'm forced to do this, I wonder what things I could teach them that they wouldn't otherwise know. That, listen, here's how we do things. A good friend of mine, Jennifer Toomer, who runs a great big brokerage in Birmingham, what she used to do, and I think and this is a good time to go back to it. She had like a Pendaflex file. And what she would do is she put all the bills in the Pendaflex file, and she would go and get cash from the bank. And if she couldn't get cash, she would write little pieces of paper that looked like cash. And she would show her kids, like she would show CJ and Brianna and Mac, that's her 3 kids' names. She would show them, like, listen, here's when the bill's due, and here's the money we're going to set aside and put in the Pendaflex file for when the bill is due. Well, you can't tell me that those 3 kids aren't going to be 25 someday or 30 someday and go, you know what? Here's how mom showed us how to budget. Here's how mom like taught us how to deal with money. And that might be the time right now that you grab one of those Pendaflex files and you use that. I do think right now is another time that you give back to the world around you. If you've got something floating around the house that you were like, man, I got to get rid of this thing or whatever, I think now's the time that you hand it to the human being next to you. I think now's the time that you get on Nextdoor or Facebook or whatever, and you say, hey, I've got this 27-inch TV that's been sitting in my garage for 6 months. I was going to give it to charity, or I was going to, donate it or sell it for $40. Who wants it for $1? Like, I think this is where we all help each other. I think this is where we all say, I do have this. What, could this help somebody? Could this help somebody next door or down the street? I want you to think about lead generating right now. Do something that helps human beings around you. Do something that helps them. So if you've got, I found out in my own real estate business, like United Home Group, which sells in 110 cities across the country, we found that one of our people had this cool skill set. Like they did this thing like balloon animals or whatever. And so what they decided to do, and they used to do it like for a job, and then they became a realtor, so they don't make balloon animals anymore. But they thought, shoot, I've got this cool skill. What if you told your entire database, listen, I used to be amazing at making balloon animals, and for 30 minutes next Wednesday, I'm going to make balloon animals on a Zoom call. Your kids are home from school. Have them tune into this. Do you sell homes because of that? Not directly, though you help human beings because of that. And you can't out-help people in this economy. You can't out-help people in this challenge. This is where you step up. And maybe you sell a home in 4 months because of it, or 4 years because of it, or 4 days because of it. Listen, lead generating today with a heart does not mean that you lead generate without strategy. You put strategy into it and you use your heart with it. All right, so a couple of things that I wrote down I want to make sure that that I said. Don't be fooled by some of the indicators you see. So I live in Portland, right? And so like restaurants in Portland can't do dine-in. It's dine out or carry out only. And some cities are the same and some are about to be or whatever, right? So be careful when you walk past a restaurant in hopefully a couple of weeks, maybe in a month or 2. I don't know, and neither do you. Hopefully it's soon. But when you walk by a restaurant and you see it full, please don't be fooled and think, cool, whew, all those conversations I had internally about budget cuts, like they're out the window, everything's back to normal. You're not a normal business. You're not a restaurant. You're not a bakery. You're not a coffee shop. Just because you see somebody sitting in a coffee shop having coffee in 3 weeks, which hopefully is the case for heaven's sakes, don't think that that's you, because they don't pay you when they work with you. Just know that when you go fully back to normal, by the way, are people still selling homes? Heck yes, people are still selling homes. In Portland, one of my team members in Portland has sold 5 homes this month, 3 homes since basically Portland went on lockdown. Now, will they sell 3 homes next week or the week after? I don't know, and neither do they. So they're smart to hang on to what they got. You bulletproof every transaction, right? You go back to, shift tactic 12 from the book. But my point, to get back on topic, when you walk by that restaurant or that cafe or that coffee shop and everything is seemingly back to normal, please don't believe it for your business. Because your business, if you were a coffee shop, it'd be like somebody having a cup of coffee with you but they pay you for it in 60 days, or they pay you for it in 45 days, or they pay you for it in 90 days. Remember, almost everything we do has an 80 to 90 day lag. And so when I'm looking at my own business, my budget is probably okay for March. My budget is probably okay for the first couple of weeks of April. Like, I'm probably fine, though I'm acting like I'm not. Because as soon as I get to week 1 or week 2 of April, I'm already looking at the numbers going, all right, what are we pending right now? And what does that mean in April? Your challenge right now is not, will I have deals fall out of escrow? We're seeing it all over the country, everywhere. The question is, how many deals will I see fall out of escrow? Now, you and I know that you can backfill those in a month or 2 months. Like, of course, you can do all those things. But the truth is, like, you have to operate right now. And your job is to keep the business open. And so I think you go to every single thing. So here's what I would do. This is what I've done. Grab your credit card statement. I mean, as real estate agents, are we the very best people at budgeting? Nope. So grab your credit card statement. Like, that's probably where your budget lives, is the credit card. So grab that and go line by line by line. Step number 1 is renegotiating. Can I renegotiate these? Actually, step 1 would be, which ones can I just cut that I don't really have to have right now? So that's actually step 1. Step 2, would I like to keep it? If the answer is yes, then go renegotiate it. So remember those, like, think about one of those things. If this happens, then yes. If this happens, then no. So if you want to keep it, renegotiate it. If you could renegotiate it to a rate that makes sense right now. And again, let's say you go to one of these vendors. So Vulcan 7 was mentioned. If you've got a Vulcan 7 account or a Mojo account or whatever, go to them and say, what options do I have? You're not a scoundrel or a skunk to ask the question. And again, it's short term. You're talking about 2 or 3 months right now. Trust me, if we're in this problem in 2 or 3 months, you can go another 2 or 3 months. That's okay. But you don't need a long-term solution to a short-term problem. Gary Keller would say the next 100 days. Like, how do I survive the next 100 days? Not thrive, survive. How do I survive to fight another day? How do I survive to thrive and win another day? So step 2, if you want to keep the product, go renegotiate. If they can renegotiate, then say yes to it for a month. I don't think you're even saying yes for 2 or 3 months. You're saying yes for a month. If the answer is no, then you probably got to cut it. Just knowing you can come right back to it. Like, let's be clear, right? There's a really good chance in our industry that I'll just pick August for lack of a better term, because I don't have a crystal ball and neither do you. Do you think that all these companies in August will have specials left and right to bring people back into the fold? Yeah, 100%. So if you have to cut it, it doesn't mean that you can't do it in August. And I want you to go back to the beginning of your career. How did you sell 3 or 4 homes the first month or second month of your career? I'll bet that you didn't sell 3 or 4 homes. I mean, I think about the beginning of my career. Some of you have heard the story where my sales manager put an arm around me and said, Cody, if you sell a house a week, you'll be fine. And for 16 weeks, I sold 16 homes. On week 17, I went into his office on Thursday and I said, oh, can I have an extension till Monday? And he said, what do you mean? And I said, an extension. I haven't sold my 17th home this week. What he said was, sell a house a week and you'll be okay. I was a kid. I was 19. What I heard was, sell a house a week and you could work here. Have you ever learned a truth and then found out that it actually didn't help you even though it was the truth? Well, and the sales manager, who's an amazing human being, became one of my best friends of my entire life, at that point said, Cody, nobody sells a house a week forever. You're doing amazing. And it took me 4 months to sell my next house. And of course, the only difference was what I thought. Though I want you to think, when I sold those 16 homes in 16 weeks, how many lead gen platforms did I have? How many internet leads was I buying? How many staff members did I have? How many amazing mailers was I sending? The answer was none to all of those questions. And you get really clear, and there is no hard cost to lead generating human to human. It's one of the things that Kristan said. She's been around our industry for a long time. She said you cut everything in lead generation except for that. And you get real clear that it costs nothing to call someone and say hi. The 2 scripts that I'm telling everybody right now they need to know to lead generate today. And I mean, I've made money and I've done well with teaching scripts and dialogues. And we'll go back to that. But right now, no one's paying me to fly around the country and teach scripts and dialogues. The 2 scripts would be this: how are you and what do you need? How much money does it cost you to call someone, text someone, email someone, or Facebook message somebody and say, how are you doing? And what are your needs? What do you need right now? I know lots of people in the community. What are your needs? In the city of Portland, we went from 1,800 unemployment applications to 18,000 in the course of 48 hours. If you don't think that has some play in the whole world economy, of course it does. And the thing is this, opportunity just changes. As much as we're saying cut, get brutal with it. I mean, make it a game. Take your grocery budget and say, okay, if we typically spend $900 in groceries, is it possible for us to spend $500 in groceries? Now, I'm really the first person to be like, you know what? Organic is worth the money. This type of food is worth the money. Eating really good's worth the money. High quality, like all those things. Yes, yes, and yes. I'm also the first person right now, like I was buying something at the store yesterday, and I'll just share with you mine. It's like organic was twice the money as non-organic. And I don't mean to get in a fight over what's worth money. You do you and I'll do me. Though my decision was for the next 2 months, I don't know if organic's what I need. I need the food. And so I bought that one. And I've got money right now. And you've probably got money right now too. Though I want to keep mine because I don't know what I need it for in 30 days. I don't know what need the world has that I could fulfill if I cut something right now. And I don't think that you do either. I think that your job right now is to hang on to what you've got and survive and then move forward. So tacticals, call the cell phone company. See if you could renegotiate your cell phone bill. Call cable company right now. I mean, number one, if you don't call cable and cut it, I don't know why you're sitting. I mean, you do your thing. A friend of mine, though, said that they looked and they had Hulu and Netflix. And they were like, well, I don't need both. I'll just cut one of them. And so they cut the one that was more expensive. What you'll find is when you're willing to find the tens, the hundreds will show up. When you find the ones, the tens will show up. Nothing is off limits right now. Nothing is off limits. Maybe instead of spending $5 at Starbucks, you spend $1 or $2 and you do black coffee or you make coffee at home. Remember, this is only for a short period of time. You can go back to life as normal in X amount of weeks or X amount of months. I don't know what that looks like, but I do know that you get really brutal right now. Get the family involved and say, all right, guys, how could we make dinner tonight and keep it under X budget? Make it fun. When I was on a search and rescue team, someone just said I canceled iTunes for $15. I love iTunes, but for $15, yep, it's going to go. Slash it. If it's not nailed down, cut it. If it's not nailed down, cut it. Get brutal about it. When I was a kid, like we grew up with no money, right? And so my parents would say, listen, we were able to do dinner tonight for $3. And I remember those conversations clearly. And I would have stood on stage a month ago and told you I'm so proud that my kids have never had to have that kind of a comment, never had to have that kind of a story. You know what though? For a short period of time, maybe that's the story they do need. Maybe that's the conversation they should have. And what's interesting is that my outlook on that is different than it would have been 30 days ago. Like I wouldn't have told you that I'd be sitting in my house doing webinar after webinar after webinar after webinar. And I wouldn't have told you 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, I was almost laughing at all this going, that's ridiculous. That's crazy. And some of you are kind of like that. And now you're going, regardless of your feeling around it, it has affected everything in our world. So the world doesn't care if you think it's crazy or not. The world is there. So here we are. So cut it. Cell phone bills. Gym memberships, those are easy because basically all gyms have closed down. Make sure you're not being charged for it. Cable companies, go back and renegotiate those or cut them. Internet service providers, a friend of mine said, you know what? I've had the blazing internet speed for X amount of time and I was able to go to the next speed down and save $60 a month. Well, maybe you save $60 a month for that. You don't know where that money's going to go or what you're going to need it for. As a real estate agent, though, that first swipe, you go all the way through all of your expenses, grab the credit card detail, that's your best place to look. You cut everything that is fluff, that you don't have to have. The second swipe is you renegotiate what you'd like to keep. If it's renegotiable, keep it. If it's not, cut it. You can always bring it back in 60 days, damn it. Cut it. The third swipe is where you look and you go, all right, maybe it's services. Maybe you're used to doing the amazing photography package for your listings, and you go to the photographer and you say, you know what, is it possible to charge me for the lower tier and still provide the higher tier? I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to assume that photographers and videographers and drone photography in our industry are probably hurting right now like everybody else. And I don't think that you're the boogeyman or a bad person to go to them and say, Could you do this one for this package price? They're probably happy to stay in business too. Or go to them and say, listen, you've been my camera guy, you've been my videographer for years. Is there any possibility you could do these next 5 or 6 at half the price? If we're all recovered, I'm going to help you out. We'll figure it out then. Like, we will figure it out together. Though right now I need a 2-month or a 3-month solution. You do not need a 3-year solution. You need a 2-month or a 3-month solution. Now, there's probably somebody out there who would renegotiate with a vendor for 2 or 3 months, be making amazing money 4 months from now, and never help that vendor out. You know what? I think that you've got yours coming. If that's how you operate in the world, I'm not sure anything's going to help you. You're maybe not a very good person. I can't help that. The majority of you, though, you're the first person. If you chose to be a realtor, you love people. Like, you got into a business going, I'm a people person. Then you realize that real estate had very little to do with people. Then this happens and you go, wait, stop, time out. It all goes back to people. And you're the type of person that's honest. You would go back to the vendor and say, hey, I'm doing better than I thought. Let's go back to the higher price. I love you. You always do an amazing job. That's who you are. This is a 2-month problem. The third swipe is where you reduce service to clients. And you get clear and you go, you know what? I've always done the drone photography, but right now, maybe I can't. I've always done this amazing virtual staging. Right now, I can't. By the way, those people will probably renegotiate with you, or maybe they'll move the fee to where you only paid upon closing. And again, it's 2 months or 3 months. Like, you defer as many of those costs. You want as many fixed costs to go away, and you want them to become variable. In other words, I only pay it if I have it. Move them to a variable cost. And maybe you say, listen, I'll even pay full price as long as it can be a variable cost. That's okay. Then you only pay when you have it. The fourth swipe through, the fourth time through, is where you go, okay, do I have to cut any jobs? Do I have to cut any people, for lack of a better term? And sometimes that's putting people together. Now, when I do the team webinar on Wednesday, the 25th at noon, again, sponsored by Landvoice. By the way, thanks to VlogEasy for sponsoring today. If you're looking to do professional videos, VlogEasy is awesome. Go to the App Store, grab their app. It's awesome. I use it. You'll love it. Anyway, you can also email me and I'll give you a discount code. I have like a QR code where you can get it cheaper. If you're into that, what they do is you take a video, which is a big deal right now. It automatically edits it for you so it looks like professional editing, and then you can send it out. It's awesome, it's fast, it's easy, and I'll get you a discount if you want it. Anyway, so on Wednesday this coming week when I do the team one, I'm going to talk about how to go to the team and save money with the team, like transaction coordinators, administrative assistants, executive assistants. Like, I mean, these are all things that as a business you learn real fast. I've got to figure this out. If I can't figure it out, then I'm screwed. All right, so somebody said, what's the name of the video editing? It's called Vlog, V-L-O-G, like video, log, blog. It's called VlogEasy, V-L-O-G-E-A-S-Y. If you email me, and we'll just send it out, like I'll send out the QR code after the webinar and say, if you're interested in VlogEasy, use the QR code. I forget how much it saves them, 20 or 30%, but you might as well get it for less money. My friend Chris owns the company. Right now, like, video has never been more important than right now. By the way, if you're doing more and more video at home, which a lot of you are, like, immediately we're all on video and Zooms, right? I've been doing this for a really long time. I've worked remote for a really long time. I've got a studio set up in my home office, you know, with lights and a good camera and screens and all the stuff you need. If anybody wants the list of what it is, I've already built it, and we have links to buy everything on Amazon for about $1,000, which for some people is a poor use of money right now, so don't spend it. For some of you, though, you go $1,000, that's well worth it for what I'm doing. Like, you choose your money. If you'd like that list, just hit me up, send me a direct message or an email. My email is codygibson@kw.com. My mobile number, 907-529-5172. I'm doing what you're doing right now. I am up early working. I'm up late working. I'm not sleeping. Like, this is when you throw everything at the business. 907-529-5172. If you need to talk to somebody, I can't help everybody. I wish I could, but I know I can help real estate agents. And so that's where I'm throwing all of my energy right now, is realtors. And so if you need to talk to somebody or just be upset or say this sucks, or say, hey, this is awesome, or I just did this, man, let me know. Like, let me celebrate that with you. I am early morning till late at night. And don't send me things saying, Cody, I know you're busy. To heck with that. We're all busy right now. You let me control my own schedule. I'll control mine. Trust me, if I can't respond, I won't. But we're in this thing together, and we're going to come out of it together. But the challenge is, it's going to take a tremendous amount of creativity and a whole lot of aggressiveness to get through it. It's also going to take working with heart. If there's something I know about our industry, We're good at creativity, we're good at aggressiveness, and we're also good at heart. It's time that we put those three things together and we move forward. So someone said, can someone post the number 907-529-5172? Somebody will post it or you'll find it. I mean, you're real estate agents. If you can't find someone's mobile number, you shouldn't be a real estate agent. 907-529-5172. I'm going to all of my vendors that I work with, like the bigs. Like I've been working with LandVoice for years and years and years. I've been working with LogEasy for a long time. I've been working with Sync for a long time. I've been working with some of the biggest vendors in the world. I'm going to them and saying, listen, before people have to ask, is there a discount? Is there a discount code? Is there anything that you can provide? And so if you're sticking with me through this closely, I'm not going anywhere. I'll keep asking them and I'll keep feeding it back to you saying, hey, here's what they're providing or here's what they're doing. I mean, this might be a time that you can get a product for free that you would have had to pay for, though maybe you just pay for it in 3 months or 4 months. Again, this is a short-term challenge. You don't need a long-term fix. You need a 60 or 100-day fix. If you wash out of the business in the next 60 or 100 days, then you can't help anybody. This is the time that you stay in this business and you survive. Then you thrive later. And that goes against all of my being to say it, because I hear survive and I go, thrive, baby, we're going to make it. That's not today. That's Cody yesterday and that's Cody tomorrow. Cody today is survival. How do I survive today? You cut it to the bone and you get crucial with it, critical with it. I hate this conversation. I don't love it. And damn it, it's the conversation we need to be having. It's the one I'm having. It's one that you should be having. So, all right. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much to Haro. Thank you to Kristan Cole. Neither one of those people were paid for this. They were both happy to help. No one's getting paid really on anything. Like we're all just providing value. And we believe that will all come full circle. We believe deeply in that. You're my industry. I've been in the industry for 2 decades. I can't help everybody. I can help you because many of you have helped me. If I can help you with something, man, you let me know. It is all hands on deck right now. We are in it together. So thanks for being a part of the webinar. We'll send you, if you were signed up for it, we'll send you a full link. You can watch it, replay it. I really hope that you took something from it, an idea, a thought process, something philosophical, something concrete. My biggest desire is that you got value, and that made it worth it for me. Have an amazing weekend. Stay strong, stay safe. Remember, it was the event that was canceled. Your life isn't. It was the wedding that you were going to go to that got canceled because of whatever rule in your city or your state. Your family wasn't canceled. Your dreams weren't canceled. Your goals weren't canceled. Your business wasn't canceled. It was the event. Let's keep that in perspective. Now's your time. Have an amazing day.